Hi everyone, we're so excited for our first episode of the 23rd Mind.
Yeah, welcome. And the reason we're doing this is to please satisfy our patrons, our supporters, and also our general fans, because they have been, you have been, I should say, asking for more material about specifically our process and what it is that we're doing and what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Yeah, so we met our goal on Patreon, and that means that every month we're going to be creating one of these videos where we talk about what we're working on that month, how we work more in depth, and of course, if you're on our Patreon, you already know, or just follow us on social media in general, we also love to support other artists and intellectuals and creatives and writers in what they do as well. So we'll be showcasing some of our favorite friends and artists and current thinkers.
Yeah, because we're getting a lot of stuff from many exciting people, beautiful creative people who are, our friends, and we like that. But we also feel that we want to, support them as much as they're supporting us. So those are the basic thoughts behind the 23rd Mind TV or webcast or whatever you want to call it. But this is it. And without further ado, we're just gonna throw ourselves right into it.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing we should talk about is New York.
Yeah.
We have an upcoming trip to New York in March. I'm going to be speaking at the American Psychological Association's conference for the Division of Psychoanalysis, presenting the book I did on violence and psychoanalysis, which is right here. And so Manya Steinkohler and I are the editors of this book, and so we're going to be at APA Division 39 in March talking about this book. And while we're there...
Yeah, while we're there, there's some interesting things happening for me too, in the sense that the beautiful cinema, film noir cinema in Brooklyn, are going to dedicate a weekend to just showing some of my films. The documentaries about Kenneth Anger and Genesis P-Orridge, also my feature film, psychological thriller, My Silent Lips. But most importantly, it'll be the New York debut of the brand new documentary about Anton LaVey called Into the Devil's Den. And I look forward to that very much, to show it for New Yorkers and to show it on American soil, basically.
Yeah, and here's the trailer for it.
Enjoy.
You don't know whether he's going to be a pompous asshole or, really full of himself, sweep into the room in his long black cape and, here, kiss my ring or something.
Well, he was a theatrical person, and so everything he did had that aspect.
Suddenly there was this man who looked like the devil, to the popular culture and was talking about Satan as this positive role model.
Mr. Satan, Church of Satan, boom, that's it.
Sex is not the answer to everything, but it's probably the prime mover to a great deal of what we do.
Homosexuality, asexuality, bisexuality, transsexuality, not as a tolerance, but as a celebration.
The only people that I would cast a curse or a spell on would be people individually that would sort of get under my skin.
He codified the way I think many people, probably most people, actually live, but won't admit it.
Teaching women how to bend men's mind to their will, owning your power.
It's a great book for teaching women how to manipulate men.
When you went to visit him, you went into his universe, and it was like a parallel universe.
Anton LaVey's legacy is everywhere, forever. You can't unring a bell.
You trust me, I trust you. That's the way it has to work. There has to be some trust between people or demons.
Also, when we're in New York, I am going to do another thing which has to do with the book production, and the most exciting project in a long time is a book that's currently at the printers, but I have something here to show you, and that's some test sheets for the cover and for some of the photographs, and it's a book called Sacred Intent. There you go, Sacred Intent, and it's basically a book summing up my conversations with Genesis P-Orridge since 1986. So it's a time span of I don't know how many years, from 1986 to 2019. And we've been traveling to many exciting places and talking about Jen's ideas and many other things. And this is kind of an amazing book for me to do this kind of memory lane tripping, but also a great way of anthologizing and pooling in a very condensed form the beautiful ideas and thoughts and concepts and philosophies of Jen. You know, they have developed, as has Jen, and it's just remarkable to see this scope, this time span, and span also of intellectual expansion. And I'm also very happy about the fact that in the book there's not only these conversations, it's also I think 50 photographs. This is just a test print of the photos in the book, so it's not only good textual stuff, but also I think around 50 photographic portraits that I've taken of Jen over these decades. So needless to say, I'm happy about and excited about this book, and I think that will be quite a good seller too. A lot of people are interested in Jen's thoughts.
Yeah, and it's a really nice kind of coming together of your relationship over the years as well, and the different places you've traveled to together. I think that's one of the things that Jen pointed out. It's about the conversations, but it's also about all the travel and what you learn when you travel.
Yeah, oh, of course, it's quintessential to travel, and I think it affected our conversations specifically when we were in specific places, and it's just an all-round encouragement to keep on traveling. Everybody should travel as much as they can, because that's how you learn.
Yeah, so that's everything happening in New York so far.
So far.
It's only February 1st right now,
Yeah.
so we'll see if more comes up between now
More things might come up,
and mid-March.
And I have to say, concerning the Jen book, that's going to be like a book talk, a book signing and a book talk during that same weekend, the equinox weekend of March.
Cool. What next?
What next? Well, we should maybe talk about Highbrow Lowlife.
Okay.
Our beautiful record label that has for a long time been what you call it, like a digital label, releasing stuff online in digital form, and that's beautiful. It's a great way of sharing things in an inexpensive and efficient way. But we came to this point where we just missed having tangible products. And since we don't have much space, the storage we have is just filled with books, we can't really do vinyls at this time. Maybe that will change in the future. But we decided to do small edition CDs instead, in boxes. Boxes filled not only with a CD, but also relevant material. And so far we've done two things, two releases.
So one that we've done is an homage to our first release together, which is Cut to Fit to Mouth. And Cut to Fit the Mouth first came out on an American label run by Douglas Lucas called Arcana Machine as a cassette. And you get the cassette in the box as well. But we also made a CD of it. And of course, it's also available online digitally if you prefer that. And it comes with all these great things. This is the image that was first on the cassette printed. You get images of Carl and I performing at our exhibition, Cut to Fit the Mouth, which was in January of last year. And then just another photo of us together and some informational packet. And then you also get a handmade collage cut up that I made one for each of them in the special deluxe edition. So this is an example of one.
Good stuff.
Really good stuff.
Yeah.
And I have another album coming out with Douglas Lucas, who originally put out Cut to Fit the Mouth, which he's just sent us the files for, where Douglas set my cut-up poetry to music. And so that'll be coming up on a future episode of 23rd Mime.
Yeah.
And the other album that we've made a box for so far is called The Chapel is Empty. The Chapel is Empty is something that I did with Kevin Wright of Acoustic Timbre Frequency. And it again comes with a CD that we made. Oh, I can even show you the CD itself because we printed a photograph on the front of the CD. And it comes with assorted photographs of me and Kevin making cut-ups, Kevin performing, and again, cut-up collages. Here's an example of one.
Yeah, beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea with this is, of course, not only that it's fun for us to actually assemble these things and make little boxes, but it has been requested in a way that people we know, they like this tangibility. They like to put something in a player, whether it's a CD player or a gramophone. But still, there's just something to it. I know I've missed it for a long time. And while I have been privileged to, work with other people and other labels, like Ideal Recordings of Gothenburg, that make such beautiful vinyl releases, I've still missed the tangibility of actually making things, because I know, and we know, that they will end up with people who really cherish not only what we do in terms of music and poetry, but also the products. So it's a great fit, and I think we'll just do as many of these as we can, because we have not only a great backlog of digital releases that we can turn into physical releases, but we also have a great, what can we call that, future log of stuff that's been recorded but has not yet been assembled in album form of some kind. But they will all be physical releases too.
Yeah, because I'm constantly making cut-ups almost every day. When I write in my journal, I make cut-ups and collages, and then I often record those cut-ups as cut-up poems, and then those recordings turn into these releases. So it's part of my day-to-day practice and part of my day-to-day life. So I have pretty much an endless amount of material that we could use.
Yeah, which is great. Which is great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think actually we're doing so many things that it's kind of hard to keep track of everything.
Oh yeah. One thing we can do for this episode, since we just talked about The Chapel is Empty, is you can now see a video that I made for The Chapel is Empty to celebrate the release of Carl's film Anton LaVey Into the Devil's Den, because LaVey and Carl are featured in the film that I created, as is a letter that LaVey wrote to Carl back in 1988. Mm-hmm. So enjoy.
Enjoy.
Dear Carl, I am honored that you have chosen me as a part of your inspiration, and Jane would be more than pleased. It is through ongoing creations like yours that she lives on. Thanks to magical links like Genesis, more pioneers like yourself are coming forth to shake up the rest of the world. There's a new wave, a second emergence of that which began in 1966, and nothing will stop it now. Truly, their apocalypse is right underneath their noses, and they don't know it. Please accept my appointment to membership in the Church of Satan, and my best wishes for your future endeavors. Reggae Satanas, Anton Sandor LaVey. Mother, have a safe trip. space. Wrote. I can take any empty space and call it. Whilst someone else is watching him. And this is all I. You've got some room for, in essence, we are doing the same. By engaging in it, human being watching. We are engaging with Ed. This is the essence of his magical image. Several elements are liminal. The partially finished areas, the grotesque skull hands, even the draped figure. Carl Abrahamsson. People usually have developed quite a narrative of themselves, adhere to it quite strongly, if not rigidly, as it is most likely tied. They think about themselves and their worldview. So instead of thoughts and interpretations, which I find to be quite violent and overwritten, more specifically, what is anatomically hidden or in now. Hold on. Sat down on the bed, pulled an old cardboard box close to her. She raised her head and looked into the mirror on the wall. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the craziest of all? She whispered slowly. Distinguish the accent of townspeople. It used to make her smile, but not anymore. Mary could see her own reflection all too well, and she wasn't certainly underlined that here aggressiveness dominates. Allowed me to hug her back. Full night, and but it is also that when her parents had died a year earlier, she was left with clearing out her own space and clearing up theirs. Now finally she had. She had moved into their house just outside of New York City, not with an overwhelming sense of joy, but rather just because they had expected her up. Back to the grassroots, back into the hands of thee. Could play our own music and dress the way we, in time. This was certainly such a time. She brought letters, photographs, small mementos, passed by far too quickly, all stashed in, provided the kind of immediate emotional she needed from time to time. More often realized every time she hesitantly returned, box a few months after Freud. After all over the bed, she started sorting a million times before. With the most primitive forms of the family have its most advanced forms. Authority. Ways returned to a ruled black notebook in which she had tried, also a long time ago, to write down memories from her youth. She wanted to remember more than she actually did or could, and this book had been an attempt at pushing on in this point to where his hands were, at her own reflection again. She sighed heavily, opened the journal, memories. This self-portraiture is certain to introduce one of my favorite songs. Then, the of and head. My own devoted myself to what was going on. There was a lot, not unjustified will. I often dreamt of being a bird, a high-flying bird. We would probably stay sung, being light, being weightless. One could call boredom. Inns and forests and villages and cities, always returning to nature, to my own nest, high up somewhere. The perspective was staggering, and I daydreamed the very same things. Often it worked, always. It felt nice when it did work. Nepal in the autumn of 1970, with my friend, nicknamed Sparkles. Mine was Glitter. We're both lovingly naive hippie chicks, and very to bear. This was at a time when men, a person's death, and the dead, one's illnesses and treatment, the shadows and ghosts, one's name and likeness. All these make it a highly relevant and specific concept for what we proud of it. Love, we believe, and Afghanistan first, to get to Kathmandu. There was not Kathmandu, and as this was also, we're in to read. Cruised other, hotel on psychiatry, and other smaller trains. We both said, wake, dream states, inside and out. This world and the next burns brighter. The way to keep the relationship between.
Now we're going to talk about some things that people have been sending us, and for which we're very grateful, because it's amazing stuff. And again, we have so many creative friends that it's this is going to be a substantial part of all the 23rd Mind TV shows or episodes. And I was thinking maybe you could hand me the record. One thing that is, of course, very, very mentionable and should be mentioned is the return of Swans. It's same but different in a way. This new album is called Leaving Meaning, and I for one think that Swans as a band or as a concept have just become, they've grown better and better for each year, and that's kind of remarkable, because how many bands can you actually say that about? Not many, you know, but I think Michael Gira's integrity and vision and just the quality of the stuff is just remarkable. And I really love Swans, and this album is no exception. It's a fantastic album, and I look forward to seeing this kind of new incarnation of Swans live. I mean, some of the musicians are the same, but there's a greater variety, it's a bigger bouquet of talented musicians. including Anna von Hauswolf and many others. Maria von Hauswolf, her sister. And this really, it's hard to describe. It's the same kind of soul-searching, frenetic music. It's heavy, always very poetic. And just, again, I'm amazed that the quality is so high and it just keeps getting better and better. So, it's just such a cliche, but you should really get this album because, it's it amazes me. It amazes me.
It's definitely my favorite Swans album. I think it's the best thing they've done so far. And like Carl said, that says a lot because they're a pretty prolific band.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then maybe we should mention Val.
Yeah. As you know, Val Denham is one of our favorite artists.
And people.
Yeah, you can see her work all over our house, all over our lives, basically. We love Val. We are huge Val fans.
Yeah.
So we visited Val and her lovely wife, Gail Denham, this past summer. And while we were there, we were fortunate to obtain this Val Denham limited edition satchel, which has so many amazing things. I can show you some of them here, and perhaps you can show others of them edited in.
No, it's just another remarkable artist who is so all-around creative. Whatever Val does, it's just fantastic how much beauty and skill and interesting concepts that are woven in, whether it's like t-shirt making or making music, drawing, painting, collaging.
T-shirts.
It's phenomenal, and there's this constant outpouring of stuff.
Handwritten lyrics, patches.
And we should mention that this satchel, I think only 1 or 2 copies remain.
Oh, there's one, I believe, last time I checked. All of them are gone except for one.
Yeah, so this is really a great opportunity to just
get
snatch
yours
the
now.
satchel.
There are so many CDs in here. I think there's like 7 CDs in here. CDs.
And bonus stuff. Bonus
CDs.
music, yeah.
Yeah, this one is like a handmade CD that comes with it. That hadn't been out yet. Cassettes, more patches. There's flyers from her shows, from her art exhibitions. And it comes with original artwork, including, these are the pins. Comes with all of her pins. She's got great pins from Timeless Editions. Amazing stuff. And there's a little painting in here. There's so much stuff in here, I can't even find everything. There's a tiny painting in here that comes in a tiny frame. And the frame is from World War II era. So that's amazing. Actually, I think I'm going to have to take that out of the satchel and put it up in the house.
Yeah.
Entity photos. So Val also creates these amazing paintings on top of old Victorian photographs. Some of them are portraits, and some are what called these entity photos, where they look like alien or otherworldly entities kind of creeping in on these old Victorian folks. So that's pretty hilarious and amazing, and I love those, and that's also going to have to come out of the satchel and be up in our house.
Yeah.
And there's also one of these envelopes that I pulled out also has watercolors by Val. So it's got a whole set of watercolors by Val as well.
Yeah, no, it's just an incredible thing, which is more than one record or a book. It's just a unique opportunity to get something that will never come back into existence again. It's just how many copies were made? I think 6.
I think 6.
6 copies were made
and
of
I think
this
there's
satchel.
one left, if that.
Yeah.
So get yours now.
Yeah, absolutely. And support Val in general and support independent living artists. That's very, very important. And speaking of that,
The tome.
Yeah, the tome. This is a beautiful book, as you can see, published by a beautiful publisher, Scarlet Imprint, written by beautiful people, Peter Gray and Alkistis Dimek, and it's called The Brazen Vessel. And it's an anthology of their writings on magic and esoteric subjects. And anyone who knows Scarlet Imprint as a publisher and Peter and Alkistis as people know that there is this thing called sublime supreme quality in everything they do, in their writing, their thinking, their assessing material, whether it's new or old or other people's or their own, and the way they present it in these wonderful, wonderful books that are truly talismanic. It's just very, very inspiring. Not only the experience of reading them and taking part of their thoughts, they would be beautiful no matter what, but to have them contained in these beautiful editions makes for a double whammy, and it's something that's inspiring us a lot. Scarlet Imprint are just amazing in the way they're producing stuff. Very, very inspirational stuff.
So follow them if you're not already.
Yeah.
You probably are, but...
Yeah, but they're important people, so...
And then your birthday present. Carl's birthday was in January.
Mm-hmm.
And I got him this incredible sculpture by Charlotte Rogers.
Yeah.
The Hermit.
Look at that. Yeah, Charlotte Rogers is another one of those totally unique artists. And it's funny that all these people are British in some way, you know, considering that this is the first day of not the Brexit, but the actual new phase of Great Britain, so-called, not being a part of the EU. But anyway, Charlotte is an amazing artist, and it's just mind-boggling how she can take, and often does, take dead matter, whether it's old antlers or horns or animal skeletons and things that she finds in nature, and just reworks them into living entities again. It's a totally, I would say, necromantic, stressing, not the necro, but the romantic. There's something so loving in the way that Charlotte works and makes these new creatures come to life. Based on old stuff, but suddenly via her filtering, there's something new coming up. And this is my new friend, The Hermit by Charlotte Rogers, and I'm very happy. So thank you for that birthday gift.
You're welcome.
Yeah. No.
Charlotte's one of the artists that I wrote about in the new book that I have coming up called Scansion in Psychoanalysis and Art, which will be out later this year on Routledge. And that's what I talk about, is her process of taking these kind of dead matter and recreating new life from what's been discarded or has died. We are on a British artist roll here.
Yeah.
So another one of our favorite British artists, I just got this wonderful piece by him, framed. This is amazing. Paul Watson. How incredible is this? Paul is a wonderful British artist, also works with the Esoteric, as you can clearly see. I saw this on his site and had to have her, and I'm so happy to have her home framed. She's making me rearrange my whole space because I need to put her front and center, basically. Yeah, I just love it. And he has other pieces of original art on his site that are very reasonably priced, so get them while you can.
And a book.
And he has two books.
2 books. Mm.
And he just started a zine called Rituals. So go to his site. We're going to put links to all of these sites of these incredible artists so that you can easily find what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe we should, if we should break the British mold as a kind of a revenge, perhaps. I don't know. We should maybe talk about our friend Fred Andersson. He's written 2 books called Homo Satanis and Homo Satanis 2, and they're wonderful. insights and interesting and funny stories about coming out, not only as a gay person but as a Satanist, and those two things in combo makes for wonderful reading. The first one is called Homo Satanis, How I Learned to Love Satan and Other Insights from My Childhood. And Homo Satanis 2 is called The Devil Made Me Do It. And that's something I think we can all relate to in a good way. Very, very funny and interesting books. So you should check out Fred Andersson's Homo Satanis. And then if we stick with the Swedes, one of our favorite Swedish artists is the performance artist Gustaf Broms. And I have made a film about Gustav that you can find at my Vimeo on demand site page. And Gustav is just one of those persons who whatever he touches becomes, instant art. It's just a kind of sensibility and skill and the power to present and to represent very interesting ideas. And this little book called 9 Questions is a book that Gustav put together by writing to a great number of performance artists and other artists too, about their work and about their approaches, about their art basically. And it's one of those things that, although it's a slim book and it contains 9 questions, standard questions, it reveals a lot about the artistic process and about what exactly makes very interesting artists not only tick but actually be motivated and go from carrying interesting thoughts and concepts to actually making art of it all. So this is a book I would recommend a lot. It's been inspiring for me in my continued process of making the artists' documentaries in the series An Art Apart. Many of these things touch upon the same fundamental issues. Why are people making art? What's the purpose? What's the meaning of this? So 9 questions put together by Gustaf Broms, another beautiful Swedish artist.
Swedish artist Gustaf Broms has, since the early 1990s, developed a symbolic language in order to help him understand his own being. On an adventurous journey stretching over photography, filmmaking, sculpting, collaging, music making, and on to performance art, his artworks and the process become pieces of a puzzle that constitute not only the human being called Gustaf Broms, but also human life itself in general. The grand scale of Broms' ambitions signals a willingness to share his highly experimental attitude and its findings with other people. Thus, his persona as an artist grows into something more ambitious, yet at the same time more undefined. The multifaceted expressions of his work seem to contain the very same theme, the very same question: where exactly lies self in the human being? Who exactly are we, and which tools do we need to find out?
And while we're on this Swedish artists trail, I would also like to mention dear old Fredrik Söderberg, who I used to have the publishing company Edda together with, and we are no longer working together with Edda, as most of you know, but Fredrik has just released some beautiful books. One is a heavy-duty monograph from an exhibition here in Stockholm that's going on, no, sorry, in Sweden, not in Stockholm, that's going on right now. And it's just, you know, as usual, filled with these amazing watercolors that he's produced over the years. So this is kind of a retrospective, a monograph containing stuff from book projects, from exhibitions and other projects, and it's remarkable. I'm very happy to have worked with Fredrik and produced some books together with him, and I'm now selling these via Trapar. This one also is from another exhibition that Fredrik put together with his wife, Christine Ödlund, and it's the same thing there. They're really, I like to call them the royalty of Swedish contemporary art, because whatever they do is not exquisitely produced. It also is packed with ideas and concepts, not of the shallow postmodern kind, but much, much deeper, existential, philosophical, religious even, concepts that permeate their art and thereby gives it life. There is no shallow meandering of current PC-based concepts, but just facts of life presented in a very, very personal way. So Fredrik Söderbergs monograph and Det okända livets psykiska gåtor, or as it's called in English, The Psychological Enigmas of the Unknown Life by Fredrik Söderberg and Christine Ödlund. Both these catalogs are available at Trapar right now. And that, I think, concludes or sums up this very first cherry episode of 23rd Mind TV. And
yeah, that sums up January 2020.
Yeah.
So we'll keep moving into 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. And as this project was spawned as a thank you and then sort of on-demand thing, per request thing from our Patreon patrons, we would like to recommend that you go to our Patreon site and see if you find a level of support that you could be interested in. Patreon is basically where we do most of our communication and flaunting of our continued successes and mistakes. It's just a much more personal space to interact with our friends and fans and people.
Yeah, that's where we show our process of how all of our work comes together on an ongoing basis. And of course, all the podcast episodes are there first. And yeah, pretty much all of my more personal stuff is there, because I don't like to put kind of what I'm doing personally so much online, since I am a psychoanalyst. So I usually focus on more work-related items in the larger social media sphere, and then go more into the inner workings of my process on Patreon. So join us on Patreon. We also send out gifts to our patrons at certain levels, physical, tangible gifts.
Yeah, regularly.
They got a great CD that we made with our new CD making equipment, that we sent out only to our patrons and a few special friends like Val and Annie Bandes and a few others. So yeah, so join us there.
And we'll see you soon again. Thank you for watching. Bye.